I'm Jared Brown, I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm a man who thinks he can. One of the funnest projects I got to do this last year was when me and my wife started talking about ways we could save money this past Christmas. We gathered up all the 2x4s and scrap plywood we could find, and this is what we built.
Thank you, Michael J. We love our boat!
Earlier I showed you one of my projects that was a lot of fun. Now I'd like to show you a project that had a substantial impact. I got the opportunity this past year to work with the city of Tulsa as well as a local church and about 20 or 25 people. We got the opportunity to go into a neighborhood that was in need and impact two different homes. One we worked on the outside, the other we worked on the inside. I was asked to help coordinate all the improvements that were being done on the inside of this home. The floor in the kitchen was literally gone. It's amazing that people weren't falling through the floor. In one day we were able to pull up the rotted flooring, put in new subfloor, new tile, new cabinets, new countertops, new sink faucet, and to give the lady a new refrigerator. It was an amazing opportunity to bless her with a brand new kitchen. On top of it, it was just an amazing opportunity to work with a group of 20 or 25 people who don't do this on a regular basis, who don't know what they're doing, and see them being given the skills and the equipment they need to actually reach out and impact somebody's world. Sometimes the best do-it-yourself projects are when they're not about yourself. A decorative vent hood is a great accent piece to any kitchen, and it can often cost as much as $1,800 or more. Today, I'm going to show you how you can build one for $400 or less. We're going to take out our existing vent hood. Before we do that, we're going to mark the bottom of it for later reference. Local laws vary from state to state. We recommend anytime you're going to do any electrical work, you contact a licensed professional. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the existing upper cabinet. Now that we've got our space cleared, we're ready to start laying out for our unit. One of the things that's going to make this project really simple is that we're using a blower unit and a prefab insert that are designed to work in conjunction with each other. You can pick these up at your local appliance wholesaler. We got these for under $150. As we start laying out for our new unit, we're going to establish our center point between the two cabinets, and then we'll take a level and draw a plumb line. The ductwork we're using is 6.5 inches in diameter. We've got where we need to cut our hole marked out and ready to go. One thing I often tell people is know what will cover, know what won't cover. There's no need wasting your time being very exact for an area that's going to be covered up later by future work. Now we're going to build two box frames. The first box frame we're going to build is out of 1x8 poplar. We've made it 30 inches across the front and 19 inches deep. This is going to allow it to cleanly and easily fit around our prefab insert. Now we'll install this unit. We'll use our reference line that we marked earlier and attach it to the wall with a 3-inch screw. We'll use a level to make sure we're level from front to back, and we'll attach with an 1.25 inch screw into the sides. Our second frame we built out of 1x4 poplar. We built this to be a 10-inch square, 10 inches across the front and 10 inches from front to back. This allows for plenty of clearance for our ductwork to go through the middle. We've gone ahead and marked the center of our box so that we'll be able to line it up with that plumb line that we created earlier. Unfortunately for this application, there's no stud behind our box. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply some construction adhesive. Now we'll install this to the wall, placing it up along the bottom of the ceiling. We'll use our butterfly technique to attach it. The butterfly technique is where you take the nail gun, shoot 2 nails in the same location but in opposite direction. We've gone ahead and run the ductwork into the attic, and we're ready to move on to the next step. Sometimes normal doesn't work. Being backwards might just be best. We're going to put crown around here to dress up our vent hood, but we're going to install it inverted. Now we're going to make the sides for our vent hood. We're going to need to measure from the top of our crown to the bottom of our upper frame, and from our back wall to the inside edge of our front piece of crown. To lay out our side piece, we'll add 2 inches to the overall measurement we got from the top of our crown to the bottom of the base. Gives us 23 1/8 inch. We'll back off 1 inch on the top and 1 inch on the bottom for those 2 inches we added. That'll give us an inch at the top and the bottom to allow us to overlap when we go to install. I'm going to use a speed square to extend the lines where the top of my piece is going to be. My measurement from front to back earlier was 16 3/8. I'll measure, make that mark, and then I'll move in 1 inch for the overlay that we were talking about earlier. Up at the top of my piece, I've extended my line out, and I'm going to mark 10 inches because that's the depth of our upper frame box. At this point, I'm going to connect the dots for my 2 intersecting points that I've made, and this will help us create the angle for our side piece. I've used those lines I've drawn, and I've cut 2 identical pieces, 1 for each side. The side pieces we cut are going to fit in here. They'll overlap on the outside of our upper frame, and they're going to inset on the inside of our crown on the lower frame. We're planning to put crown molding around the top of our upper frame to trim this out, So I'm going to go ahead and install that first so that I get a nice tight joint between my side panel and the bottom of my crown. Now that we've got the crown in place, we're ready to insert our side piece. We'll attach it with some brad nails at the top. And we're going to use some brad nails through the crown, holding it in place into that inch overlay that we created earlier. We'll repeat the process on the other side. Using the butterfly technique we did earlier, we're going to install a couple of blocks at the back for some additional support. We'll use our brad nail to put a couple tack nails into those supports we just installed. Additionally, we're going to take just some scrap wood we had, and I'm going to tack them in along the front face of this plywood, making sure that it's flush. These blocks we've installed will serve as nailers for our final panel. To cut this last panel, we're going to measure from the top of our bottom crown to the bottom of our upper crown. We're going to take the piece we preliminarily cut. I'm going to line it up with the corner of my crown on one side. I'm going to mark the corner of my crown on the other side. This will allow me to go ahead and trim the extra length off. We've got our piece cut to generic width. We can set it in place, lean it to where it's going to go, and take our pencil and scribe the back. Scribing the back will allow us to mark our piece exactly where we want to cut it. Our vent hood is starting to take shape and it's really looking good. But one thing to remember, it's not how we start our projects, but how we finish them that makes them look great. Preparation yields success. We're going to prep our area by taping off with some 2-inch blue tape. We're trying to create a great accent piece for our kitchen, and we want this to really pop. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of drywall mud. I'm going to put it on the flat surfaces of our vent hood, and that's going to allow us to create a Venetian plaster look that'll turn out great when we start adding that glaze later on. As we put our drywall mud on there, sometimes it's great to remember that messy sometimes is neat. That's what's going to make this look so unique and so different. One tip when trying to get the desired effect is to make soft strokes at crossing angles, and that'll help give you a look that you'll probably end up liking. The last thing we're going to add before we start our painting is a decorative acanthus. We'll place it in the center and then tack it in with some finish nails. Now we're ready to start our faux finishing process. We want to make sure we've got a great foundation, so we're going to put 1 coat of primer and then 2 coats of paint. Anytime we're going to do a glaze overlay, we want to make sure that our paint is of a higher sheen. I personally prefer working with the semi-gloss. This is going to give me more working time to put my glaze on and wipe that glaze off. Finally, we're ready to glaze. Primer's been on, paint's been on, and it's had a chance to cure for 24 hours. I've got some latex gloves on because the glaze we'll be using is an oil-based product and it's very difficult to get off your hands. I'm going to use a rag to wipe off my glaze, and I'll use a brush to apply it. I'm just going to gently take some glaze, generously apply it to the area that I'm wanting to faux finish. It's important to work in sections. Don't glaze the whole item and then try to wipe it all off. The glaze will start to dry on you and you won't be able to get the effect you want. Then I'm just going to wipe it off, taking any excess away until it gets to the look that I really like. Finally, we're ready to install our blower unit. First thing we need to do is take the cover off the blower pack itself. Once the cover's off, we'll take the blower pack, go ahead and fit it inside of our metal insert. There'll be 4 holes all the way around that'll have bolts for us to put through to fasten the blower pack to the insert itself. Once we've attached the blower pack to the insert itself, we can go ahead and put the cover back on. The final step is to install the blower motor and insert. We'll have our electrician hook up our electrical wires, we'll connect our ductwork, and we'll be ready to screw it in place. We'll lift the unit into place and fasten with the 4 screws provided.
Coming from sweeping being my only skill set, I now can do electricity, plumbing, framing, finish carpentry, and it's all from Jared. When I didn't know how to do something, I'd ask Jared, and usually he could teach me over the phone how to do it, whether it was framing a wall, moving a hot water heater, plumbing in a sink, moving a bathtub, whatever. My wife was really itching to finish up the first part of our house, and so she wanted to do the drywall herself. I don't think she's ever done a drywall patch before that, but with Jared's help, his tools, and his lessons, she was able to drywall, tape and mud, and texture the whole front of our house.
This gives you a glimpse of who I am and what I'm about. This is why I believe that I'd be a great candidate for the DIY Stud Finder contest.